Thầy thôi.
Thầy.
Alice share lại cái bài mơ à. Rồi hôm nay thầy Andrew bị bệnh, thành ra là thầy Andrew quay bài để cho các con học ha. Rồi Alice quay bài mới đi con. Hôm nay mình sẽ học bài chính nha. Tuần sau mình sẽ làm bài kiểm tra nha các bạn.
Today's lessons because something happened in my family. I need to take care of the 3 kids.
Ngày 3 tháng 12. Rồi. Alice sẵn sàng chưa?
Because they're not feeling well
Nếu
again.
các bạn học một buổi
Therefore, I have
học
to pre-record this
thử
lesson
trải nghiệm
in the
là
middle of night
học
to
không có
ensure that
thầy nhưng
lessons
vẫn có
still carry
thầy
on.
nha. Rồi mình
Even
sẽ
though today I'm not
tuần sau
at the
các bạn
Zoom
nhớ
sessions.
chuẩn bị ôm lại
Alright,
bài
without
của
further
các
ado,
cái
let us
buổi học
proceed with
trước
today's lesson
để
in
mình làm
proper.
bài kiểm tra cuối
Welcome to
khóa
Beloved
nha.
Science
Hôm nay là buổi
2023.
9 rồi, tuần
Today
sau là
we're
buổi
going to look
10
into
là bài
chapter
kiểm tra
11,
cuối khóa.
Light and Shadow,
Rồi,
chapter
Alice
12,
ơi.
Heat and Temperature. We will be covering these two chapters today. Students, bear in mind that next week is an examination week. We will be having an online examination during lesson time. So please go back to all the past chapters that we have gone through this year. Learn them, understand them. If you have any question, feel free to Zalo me. I'll be more than happy to guide you along. So, having said that, let us carry on to today's topic in proper. So, what is energy? Energy is everywhere around us. To enable things to change and move, energy is needed. Living things such as animals and plants need energy to live, grow, and reproduce. Non-living things such as cars and buses need energy to move. Energy comes in different forms such as light and heat. Light makes a place bright, while heat makes a place warm. Today, let's find out more about light and heat. So, who invented the mercury thermometer? Well, thermometers are used to measure how hot something is. Daniel Gabriel Fahrenheit was the scientist who invented the mercury thermometer. This thermometer that he invented has a scale, and this scale accurately measures how hot something actually is. Next up, who invented the light bulb? The light bulb is an important part of our daily lives. Sir Thomas Edison works on thousands of materials before he managed to find one that allows the light bulb to light up. He finally succeeded due to his creativity and perseverance. Imagine Sir Thomas Edison gave up halfway. What will happen to our life? Our lives will change different from the current lives. This invention of light bulb improved our lives. By a lot, it allowed us to see in the dark. It allowed us to have torchlight to see when we are at a forest camping, so on and so forth. So, do remember these two questions as we learn together on the chapter of light and heat.
So, is it...
Why are light
okay?
and heat important?
What's happened? What's happened?
Wait, what? It doesn't...
How are
Đợi cô
light
chút, đợi
and
cô
heat?
chút. Đợi cô chút. Wait. Alice.
Đấy. History Internet Lab.
Vẫn bị mất hả con? Bị mất bài hay sao vậy? Bạn nào đang share?
Giờ này em Stella đang share.
Ô Stella hả? Ô cô xin lỗi. Tại vì cô bật cái focus mode á. Cô đợi. Rồi. Stella ơi, con lại đi. Rồi. Các bạn thấy lại chưa? Stella ơi, vẫn tiếp tục đi con. Các bạn thấy lại chưa? Rồi, tiếp tục đi con. Mở lên.
Why are light and heat important? How are light and heat uses in our daily lives? Well, let's find out more. So why do we need light? Light is a form of energy. We need light in order for us to see. If there's no light, we cannot see anything. Can you imagine a day without light? Not all objects give out light. Objects that give out light are known as sources of light. Those that do not give out light are not the sources of light. We have two types of sources here, the natural and the man-made. The sun is our main source of light during the day. It makes our surrounding bright and allow us to see. At night, we have the man-made sources of light such as lamp to help us see in the dark when we are out on the street. So how are we able to see the object around us? Well, we can see the object around us and we can see the sources of light around us because of something. We can see the source of light because the source of light gives off light. As for the objects, we can see them because light is reflected from the object and enter our eyes. Therefore, we can see it. This object, as shown in the picture here, does not give out lights. We can see the object because the light that fall onto the book is reflected into our eyes. Therefore, we can see the object. Next up, students, please take note that the moon is not a source of light. It looks bright at night because it reflects the light from the sun. Therefore, moon is not a source of light. However, it's an object that reflects the light from the sun. So why are we able to see through some objects but not others? In this slide here, we have three types of materials: the transparent, the translucent, and the opaque. Different types of materials allow different amount of light to pass through them. We can see through an object clearly if it allows most of the light to pass through it. This type of object is known as transparent object, and one of the transparent object that we can think of is glass. The second materials, we cannot see through this object because it is translucent. Translucent objects only allow some light to pass through them. One example is frosty glass. Therefore, we can only see a bit of what's on the other side. Lastly, we cannot see through an object at all because it does not give out. We cannot see through an object at all because it does not allow any light to pass through it. This object is known as an opaque object, and this opaque object, one example is ceramic. We cannot see through a ceramic material. However, I would like to bring everyone to one building in Singapore. This building in Singapore is known as the Green Building. Some buildings are designed to allow sunlight to pass through them. This reduces the use of electricity and save energy. Buildings designed to save energy are called green buildings. We should build more of such building to save energy. Well, why is this building so special? How did this building manage to save energy by allowing light to pass through it? Well, you can look at the atrium here. This atrium here, in the middle, here, this is made of transparent materials that allow most light to pass through them. Therefore, it is naturally ventilated and day-lit atrium. There's no need for any lamp or light bulb in this section because it's all natural lighting. And this type of green building save energy by a lot. Let's carry on. After talking about lights and different materials that allow light to pass through them or not, let's look at shadows. Lights travel in a straight line. A shadow is formed when the light is partially or completely blocked by an object. As you can see from this picture here, this chest blocks partial light. Therefore, you can see shadow from behind. The shape of the shadows. The shadow of an object usually has the same shape as the object. However, an object can form shadows of different shape if the light source is shining at different parts of the object. As you can see from this picture here, when my torchlight shines on top, my shadow is small. When my torchlight shines in front, my shadow is big. But if I tilt it diagonally down, my shadow is somewhat smaller than the second one. After looking at the shape of shadow, let's look at the size of shadow. The size of the shadow changes if the distance between the object and the light source changes. The shadow of an object becomes bigger if the light source is moved closer to the object, as shown in the top diagram here. Okay. Next up, it becomes smaller if the light source is moved further away from the object. As you can see, that the distance here is from there to here, but now the distance is from here to here, is quite further away from the original positions. So therefore, the shadow here is smaller than the shadow here. So there is a relationship between the distance. So I repeat again, the shadow of the object becomes bigger if the light source is moved closer to the object, as shown here. However, the shadow becomes smaller if the light source is moved further away from the object, as shown here. Alright. With that, we have roughly covered the chapter on light. Let's map out what we have just went through. So we know that light is a form of energy. Light allows us to see when an object gives out its own light, or when an object reflects the light into our eyes. Light is given off by sources such as the sun, the stars, fire, torches, and lamps. Light can pass through materials such as glass, which allow most light to pass through them, also known as transparent material. Light is partially blocked by materials such as frosted glass, which allows some light to pass through them. This is known as a translucent material. And lastly, light is completely blocked by materials such as ceramic, because ceramic allow no light to pass through them, and ceramic is also a type of opaque object, Both translucent and opaque object form shadow. Alright, with that, we have finished the chapter on light. Let's look at heat. So what is heat? Heat is a form of energy. Heat makes things warm. Sources of heat are things that give off heat. The sun is our main source of heat and also a natural source of heat. It gives living things on earth warm. We can all feel the heat from the sun when we go outdoors. The sun has been shining for billions of years. Its surface temperature is about 6,000 degrees and its center of the sun can reach about 15 million degrees. Well, other than natural sources, we have man-made sources of heat such as hair dryer, where we use to dry our hair. So when we look at heat, we always look at the temperature. Temperature is a measure how hot something is. It is measured in degrees Celsius. Take a look at the picture of two cups that you can see here. Which one is hotter? We can feel which cup is hotter by touching the cups. However, we can also measure the temperature of the water by using a thermometer. So how do we read a thermometer? There are different types of thermometers that are used for different purposes. We have the clinic thermometer that used to measure our body temperature. We have a lab thermometer that used to measure the temperature of water. In this case, let me bring you through the steps on how to read the temperature on a lab thermometer correctly. Step 1. Holds the lab thermometer upright, as you can see from a picture over there, the young girl. Step 2. Look at the level of the liquid in the thermometer. Step 3. Position your eye at the same level as the liquid in the thermometer. Then, step 4. Read the marking nearest to the level of the liquid in the thermometer. So as you can see from the picture here, the young girl is actually looking straight at the same level of the liquid in the thermometer. Alright, next up. Why do things become hot or cold? Well, heat always travels from hotter place to colder place until both places are at the same temperature. We know that things become hotter when they gain heat, and they become colder when they lose heat. If you were to look at this particular picture here, with a picture of fire and a picture of a metal, let's say a metal rod. So you can see that the colder part of the metal rod, the heat travel from the colder part to the heat travel from the hotter part to the colder part. And then after some time, once all the metal rod reach the same temperature, the heat travel will stop. Right? Let's carry on. So what are the effects of heat gain and heat loss on metals? The change in state during heating or cooling. You can see from the picture here, we have the candle, the solid wax on the bottom, further away from the flame, whereas those wax that's nearer to the flame becomes liquid wax. When the candle is burning, the heat causes the wax to change from a solid state to a liquid state. However, when the heat is not burning, the liquid wax cools and becomes solid again. With that, we can see the change of state in this picture here, where solid wax gain heat to form liquid wax, and a liquid wax lose heat to form a solid wax. Next up, let's look at water. The pot contains some water. When the water is heated, it gains heat and changes from a liquid to a gas. Therefore, we can see that the amount of water in the pot decreases. With that, we can see the change in state such as liquid water gain heat to form gas water vapor lose heat to form liquid water lose heat to form solid ice gain heat to form liquid water. Next up, heat. We will look into expansion and contraction of solid. Look at this picture number 1 here. This metal ball, before we heat up, can pass through this loop, this ring here. So this ball, before heating up, can pass through this ring easily. But now I heat it with some fire. So this metal ball is heated. After it being heated, the metal ball can no longer pass through the ring. Why is it so? This is because when the ball is heated, it gains heat and expands. The size of the ball increases as well. If the ball is allowed to cool down, it will lose heat and contract. Then the size of the ball will then decrease. Because at step 2, I have heated the metal ball actually gains heat and expands. Therefore, the size of the ball increases. That's why it can no longer pass through the ring that it used to be able to pass through at step 1. Now, let's look at liquid then. This liquid, like a solid, expands when gain heat and contract when lose heat. So I have this thing called a conical flask, and I fill it with colored water. So what happens when this liquid inside gain or lose heat? Let's give a scenario. So when this flask is placed in a basin of hot water, the water in the flask or the liquid in the flask gains heat and expands. When the water expands, its volume increases. Therefore, the water level in the tube rises. This shows when you see the water level rise after expansion, this shows that the water in the flask has actually gained heat and expanded. Same theory when we talk about putting the conical flask in a basin of cold water. When you put the conical flask in a basin of cold water, the water in the flask loses heat to the surrounding because heat always travels from a hotter place to a colder place. So the liquid in the conical flask loses the heat to the surrounding cold water and contracts. The water level in the tube falls because of contractions. So after looking at solid and liquid, let's look at gas. Gas also expands when it gains heat and contracts when it loses heat. A balloon is placed over the mouth of. When the flask is placed in a container of hot water, the balloon actually being filled up. So the air in the flask gains heat from the hot water and expands. As the air expands, it fills up the balloon. Same theory here. The flask is removed from hot water and placed in the cold water. When you place it in the cold water, as shown in the picture here, the air in the flask loses heat to the cold water and contracts. As the air contracts, the inflated balloons become smaller. This shows the expansion and contraction of gas. So, what are some of the expansion and contraction in our daily lives? Well, we know that the temperature of our surrounding often change. This change in temperature can affect the object around us. When the temperature is high, object may expand and get out of shape. When the temperature is low, object may contract and break. So to prevent such problem from happening, some objects are designed to allow expansion and contraction to happen without damaging the objects. If you look at the first picture here, this is a railway track. Notice that there is this little hole here. As you can see the hole here. Why is there a little gap here? Well, this gap is to allow the metal on the railway track to expand during hot days. Just imagine when there's no gap and the metal expanded, you will find yourself the metal on the railway go into a weird shape, and this will pose a safety hazard to the train that is passing through the railway. Therefore, to prevent any accident on the railway is designed to have gaps in between the metal to allow this expansion and contraction to take place. Next up, we have the gap on the pavement. Same thing here is to allow expand and contract to take place. Lastly, on number 3, this dangling wire being hung loosely is also to allow expand and contraction to take place. If the power lines are tightened and the weather becomes cold, it will cause the transmission line to contract, thereby creating more tension in the lines and damage it. Therefore, the wire is best to loose hang it so that it prevents damages. All these methods are used to prevent any damages from the expansion and contraction. Now, let's look at some of the good and poor conductors of heat. Good conductor of heat, as shown in the table, gain heat quickly, increase in temperature quickly, lose heat quickly, decrease in temperature quickly, conduct heat from a warmer region to a cooler region quickly, while the poor conductor of heat do the opposite way, gain heat slowly, increase in temperature slowly, lose heat slowly, decrease in temperature slowly, conduct heat from a warmer region to a colder region slowly. Some materials allow heat to flow through them more easily than others. The keyword quickly happens to all the good conductor of heat. Metals are good conductors of heat. They are more suitable for making the body of pot and pans, as they allow heat to pass through them quickly. Materials that do not allow heat to flow through them easily are called poor conductors of heat. Wood, plastic, rubber, and air are poor conductors of heat. The handle of cooking pots and pans are made of wood or plastic to protect our hands from the heat during cooking. Woolen jackets trap air around our body. As air and wool are poor conductors of heat, heat produced by our body is not easily lost to the surrounding. Hence, wearing a woolen jacket keeps us warm during cold days. Now, let's look at one of the great inventions, the vacuum flask. Sir James Dewar, he invented something that further slows down heat gain and heat loss. So in 1892, Sir James works on a container that can store a cold substance. He needs a flask that does not allow heat to reach the cold substance inside easily. He's thinking whether a vacuum in the flask will slow down the heat gain and heat loss. Therefore, he designed a glass bottle with a double wall and removed the air between the wall to form a vacuum. He believes that when there's no air, heat cannot travel easily from the outer wall to the inner wall. Hence, the cold substance in the bottle remains cold. as you can see from the diagram here. So Sir James continued to improve his invention by finding ways to further slow down heat gain and heat loss. Until today, the vacuum flask is still widely used. Alright, this week we have no homework. So students, please revise whatever we had gone through. The next lesson is a test exam lesson. More detail will be shared at a later date. I'm still trying to think of a best exam format to test you guys. It can be a online quiz whereby we will do it together during lesson time and we go through together, or it can be just a offline quiz whereas I will design a Google form. All these details I will form up in a nearer date towards the test. With that, I have ended the lesson. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I apologize for not able to join the Zoom live, but instead pre-record this lesson due to my three kids are sick. That's all for today. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Bye. All right. Hi.
Okay, everyone. Alright, so we finished the lesson today. As teacher Andrew said, there is no homework this week. However, next week is the test. So now I leave it to. So there is an option, Alice and Stella. Alice, do you have any quizzes? You want to continue to do like revision class, right? Or you would like to continue to end the class?
I think
Yeah.
I'm like in the last course, but I don't know. Like, could I use the quiz in the last course? I think I have some of them.
Như vậy bây giờ là mình kết thúc lớp, bài thì xong rồi tụi con ha. Bây giờ là tuần sau á, là mình sẽ ôn tập. Tuần sau là mình giống như là mình làm bài kiểm tra, bài thi. Thì bây giờ cô muốn hỏi là bây giờ lớp mình sẽ kết thúc tại đây, hay là tụi con muốn tiếp tục học ngồi đây ôn với nhau, ôn bài cho cái môn học, giống như là chuẩn bị thi tuần sau. Tụi con muốn sao? Con mở Alice với lại bạn gì? Alice sao là ấy đi nó.
Dạ con ôn bài.
Con ôn bài, nhưng bây giờ ai ôn bài cho con rồi, để để Alice với sao là có ôn bài không, hay là có bạn nào tình nguyện ôn bài không? Con đã rồi. Ok rồi, như vậy thì giờ rồi